Hello, good morning. You're watching GBC News, and this is Focus. We apologize unreservedly for the rather late start to this morning's show. Sometimes you get that with technology, and so we apologize unreservedly. We know you've been waiting, and you, as much as anything and everything else, would love to put forward your contribution to it. Stay with us till the end of the show. It's going to be a fantastic one. We have, among the things to talk about this morning, the 7 Ghanaians who died in the Burkina Faso. We want to find out what the government of Ghana will be doing or is planning to do about that. And then we're also going to be looking at cocoa, the white elephant in the room. It won't go. Started ages. It still is from Tetekwashi. Till today, we're still discussing cocoa and the cocoa farmer. Some say it's a haircut. Others say it's only a Topio Joe. Well, we want to see if the Baba is really wielding a good scissors. And to help us delve well into this morning's 2 big main issues, to my immediate left, I tried calling him without the Esquire, and I got hugely reprimanded. And so let me do the do. To my immediate left is Kwame Owusu Danso Esquire. He was once the running mate for the big man. He's a legal practitioner and also the president for Accountability Forum. That's Kwame Owusu Danso. And right to him, his immediate left is Shandoff Bright Opoku Boama, a member of the NPP communications team. I also have Mutaru Mumuni Mukhtar, Executive Director, West Africa Center for Counter-Terrorism. And finally, Honorable Yusuf Mahmoud Esquire. Please don't forget to add it. Esquire. Gentlemen, you're all welcome.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Let me go quickly, or let me come quickly to you, Mukhtar, or Mutari, since you are a security and counterterrorism expert. Was there anything at all the government of Ghana could have done to warn our traders who were traveling further up north in Burkina Faso, given that there is good intel about the operations of these terrorist groups along or around those areas?
Thank you. Good morning to you and good morning to your viewers. And I would like to send my condolences to the families of the victims who unfortunately lost their lives in this attacks in Burkina Faso. The issue of terrorism is a very complex security threat. It's so complex that it can often defy all measures, all intelligence, and all preparations. And we've seen that play out in the last 25 years, 30-year period of insurgencies across the world. We've seen even the most prepared nations could, fail in dealing with this, strand of threats. Yes, of course, given the fact that since 2017, we've seen the attacks in the Sahel, the terrorist violence in the Sahel, the descent towards coastal states, and Burkina Faso in the last 5 years has been, the center or the epicenter of terrorist violence. Our intelligence or our security actors here would have had significant, data and information and monitoring capability of the threat in Burkina Faso. And to the extent that the threat is that close to Ghana, not just, in terms of, the individuals who go in and out of the country, but also geographically. We've seen attacks closer to Ghana's borders. We would expect that there will be sufficient intelligence that could be utilized to prevent an eventuality like what happened over the weekend. But as to whether we do have specific intelligence relating to the attacks in Titao, the Lorum province in northern Burkina Faso, it's another matter. And so it depends on what we had on this particular occasion.
Okay.
Because in this particular area, since 2019, it has been under attack by by Jenim. The group called Jenim is the deadliest terrorist group now within the Sahel.
Right.
So it would depend on what it is that we picked up days to the event, on the day the event took place, because there were multiple attacks on that particular day, and our traders happened to be caught up in this instance. And for a fact, this is not the first time Ghanaians have been caught up in attacks in Burkina Faso.
Okay.
There have been instances where we've been involved or caught up in situations similar or close to this. And in those instances, Ghanaians or people identified to have Ghanaian identity cards have been spared or isolated.
Right.
And so there's a presumption that even if Ghanaians are found in any of these situations, we would be spared.
Right.
If you notice, about 2-3 years ago, there was a report that tended to suggest that Ghana has some kind of a pact, an agreement with the terrorists in the region to leave them alone, whilst if we leave them alone, they leave us alone. There is no any iota of, from where we sit, there's no any, evidence of that.
Right.
But the happenings in Burkina Faso, especially encounters like this, where Ghanaians are spared of attacks or not part of the victims, create that impression that Ghana, there's that kind of thing.
Right.
But if you do a deeper analysis of the threat, you would appreciate that it is in the interest of these terrorist groups to keep a place like this safe, not to provoke Ghana. Because if they provoke Ghana and draw Ghana into this insurgency, our counterterrorism measures can further, undermine their capability to, to operate.
Wonderful.
And can worsen their plight for
Wonderful.
them. And so it makes strategic sense
Right.
to leave Ghana as a place where, even possible, where they could come in and out, either for health care reasons or logistical reasons or any other kind of.
Do they take advantage of our country being calm and access health care from here?
We have indications of individuals who have been in this space and been arrested and handed over to the Burkinabe authorities from the side of Ghanaian, authorities.
Thank you very much.
And so it's valid to suggest that we've had that instances happen.
Thank you very much. Let me come to Lord Kwame. Lord Kwame, given what we know from 2016, we've picked up intel from the Sahel, from our neighbors. We know all of their operations. Did we fail citizens? And if we did, is it time to talk about compensation, or is it too early?
Well, let me also extend my condolences to the bereaved family. Indeed, it's a very sorry spectacle, to witness some of these events, especially when our mothers who try to feed us fall into the hands of some of these charlatans. It's quite unfortunate. And to say that, if you say we failed the people who went to trade, I can, or I may want to agree with you in part, because I believe that we should be... It's a question,
not a categorical statement. Did we?
Yeah, so that's why I'm saying that I may in part agree
with me, okay,
with that statement that, yes, we may have failed, the traders, particularly because it is common knowledge, it's commonplace that all of us are aware the long-standing relationship Ghana has with Burkina Faso in relation to tomato trade.
Yeah.
And so it is axiomatic that you would find some of these traders go to Burkina Faso and then bring produce to feed the country. It is also very evident that we know the volatile situation in Burkina Faso. And so one would have expected that measures would have been put in place, however small, to ensure the safety of the traders, particularly the Ghanaian traders.
Right.
And so, yes, to that extent, I would say that we failed them. Also because, it also exposes the loophole within the cross-border, security arrangements we have, between Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire.
And
Burkina Faso, that there was no intel, there was nothing to give this indication that that was going to happen. I find it very, very troubling, especially also given the statement that you've made, the emphatic, truthful statement that you've made relative to our knowledge.
How long we've had intel
of the operations, in the sub-region. So to that extent, I would say yes, we feel them. Compensation is a conversation we must have later on.
Right.
But I believe the conversation must be elevated just even beyond what happened, to our mothers, in Burkina Faso. So that even internally, what are we doing to ensure that we will limit or reduce our reliance on produce from Burkina Faso. That, historically, it is clear that Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, tried as much as possible to invest hugely in agriculture. And that is why we had the tomato factory in Pualugu, and all of that, Akumadan and all of that. So clearly, there was a deliberate attempt on the part of government to ensure that we were food, secured internally. Because this one actually violates, food security principles. And this, even in international trade, has created what we call non-tariff barriers. That even though it is not by reason of custom or any other thing that is preventing the inflow of produce, this is the deliberateness on the part of some insurgents who have created this barrier, to prevent goods from coming in. So we must begin to look inwardly. We must begin to invest hugely and heavily in agriculture. And I was very melancholic when I heard, some of our traders plead to government to invest in irrigation, for instance. That this is the time for us to begin to look inwardly, invest in irrigation, and see to it that we are able to produce, our own food supply in this country. That's I think that is, the long-term solution really is to begin to look at how we can invest in agriculture. I keep hearing people say that, it is not the place of government, for instance, to invest in agriculture or to get involved directly in agriculture. But I say that the government has every business doing business. If you have an agricultural ministry, I believe that there are some specific sectors that ought to work. Like the agricultural ministry, like the transport ministry, etc. Those ones, they must work. That if you have a state farm, or if you have state farms that are producing some of these things locally, we would not endanger the lives of our mothers, and sisters in Burkina Faso. Right. You understand what I'm saying? Sure. So this is the time for us to have that broader conversation. I'm happy. I listened to John Dumelo on a sister station on this matter, where he opined that government is beginning to look at ways in which they can, invest in agriculture in Ghana. Right. But I think that, some of these things must be known to us in good time. Then when you bring it out now, then it appears that it's a knee-jerk reaction to a current situation. Right. And I believe that we need to move beyond the peripheries of that. Right. Let's have conversations that are broadened, conversations that are progressive, conversations that will ensure that some of these things will not recur. Right. That's the most important thing.
Thank you very much. Shandoff, let me come to you before I go to Honorable. Shandoff, how impressed were you with our official response to the incident? And how worried, let me add, 2 in 1, how worried were you when you first heard about the fact that Ghanaian officials were not present before our citizens were laid to rest, and so we don't even know where their graves are?
Thank you very much. Good morning to your viewers, and also I would want to send my condolences to the affected families. And I think as a people, our value for human lives, I think, is quite questionable. Okay. Where we've seen instances where we are not proactive enough. We wait for situations like this to happen before we take action. I think as a people, we need to have, a reflection on some of these things, our approach to making sure that some of these occurrences do not happen before we think of the measures to curb some of these things. The former president, Nana Addo Dankwa, during the COVID time, made some categorical statement like the fact that when it comes to the economy, we have ways to revive the economy, but then when it comes to bringing back into existence human lives, it is one that we cannot. So at every time, or at every point in time, governments need to make sure that we are deliberate about protecting the lives of citizens, whether in Ghana or outside Ghana. And one would want to ask, or one would want to even question the role of the national security in this, that in all of this thing, at the time where we fully understand that, like my brother Kwame also said, we knew the situation in Burkina Faso. Sure. All this while we know their terrorism threat and all of that. What has been our approach towards this? Recently in Boko, there were instances where we had to put guidelines in place where certain tribes shouldn't move to certain areas, just to make sure that we don't see some of these rise in conflicts and all of that. In this particular instance, I for one believe that we were supposed to have put out a roadmap to make sure that yes, let's be able to find out some of these risk areas, areas where our traders shouldn't move, and even if they're going to move, there should be some kind of escorts where we can liaise with the Burkina Faso government to also help us, protect our.
I think there was such a mechanism a year or two ago when a certain terrorist incident occurred in Burkina Faso, and so traders who were crossing will be escorted all the way up into where they were going to. Whatever happened to it, I don't know, but yeah.
Exactly. So I think, like I said, it is something that we need to critically have a look at. That we don't always have to wait for situations like this to happen. And like my brother said, we as a people need to have a forward mindset when it comes to agri. Why should our trade, as a country like Ghana, why should you always travel to countries outside to go and make purchase of some of these things, where we have arable lands that we can go invest in agriculture? We only engage ourselves in this political theatrics and just to sing praise to ourselves, rather than confronting the issues that are confronting the very issues that do not help. Agriculture is the backbone of this country, so anything that relates with agriculture, we need to tackle it on head on. We need not to dilly-dally with the issues. And for me, I think at the side time we looked at some of these things. And the other thing for me is that, my brother, we are about celebrating our 69th independence in some few weeks to come.
Yeah.
We do not have a substantive minister for defense. The president promised us that after Christmas, he was reluctant in naming or appointing, a chief of defense staff for us. Sorry, a minister for defense, and he told us that after Christmas he's going to appoint. We are in the 3rd month now. What is keeping the president from?
Is the acting minister for defense not active enough?
At all, it's forcing. And we can tell what is happening with our cocoa sector and also our economic issues. You can tell that he's not on top of issues, and even with the economy, he's struggling to make things work. How much more,
we're talking about terrorism.
No, so you are talking about somebody who is managing an important sector of the economy, like the finance, the finance ministry. How do you bombard him with something that has to do with security? We need to, if we prioritize lives, like I said, there is no way we are going to give that gap of not appointing a minister for the chief of defense, because in all of this, intelligence would have been shared and would have been proactive in making sure that some of these things do not happen. So I think that as a people, let's value human lives, and on top of that, we are going to or that is going to help us plan very well in terms of protecting lives, and in this regard, where traders wouldn't find themselves in such an unfortunate situation.
All right, thank you very much. Let me move on to Honorable Yusuf Mahmoud Esquire. Honorable, in your assessment, given what we know now and what is at hand, how likely is this to affect cross-border relations between Ghana and Burkina Faso, cross-border cooperations?
Yes, thank you very much. Let me join my colleagues who have already taken the lead to add my voice to say a big condolence to the affected families, as well as a peaceful rest for our departed traders. Yes, what has happened has a larger effect as far as the cross-border trade between Ghana and our neighboring Burkina Faso is concerned. Why do I say so? Yes, just like my colleague and senior at the bar has mentioned, it is likely to affect the very commodity or the very foodstuff that our Ghanaian traders travel all the way to Burkina to purchase. I, for instance, would want to join them with all force that yes, this was totally avoidable, because as far as arable lands are concerned, as far as rainfall patterns are concerned, we are far better than the very country that our market women...
Arable going for arid.
Yes, but yet we have failed as a country to utilize all this while. It should have been the other way around.
Right.
It should have been that Burkina, Niger, and the other countries should have been coming to Ghana to buy these foodstuffs. But for year in, year out, it turns out that we rather go to them to buy these items or these food stuff, despite all this insecurity threats that have persisted for almost 2 decades now. And so, yes, the time has come. I am much aware that the Ministry of Agric is working rigorously to ensure that, yes, we get the right tomato seedlings to supply our local producers, our local farmers. Remember about last year somewhere, May, is it June, July there, I accompanied him to Agogo.
Okay.
That's in the Asante Achim North,
Sure.
where we also have a large production of
Tomatoes.
He distributed them. He distributed those tomato seedlings to them. And so it's not just Agogo alone. I on him that we should extend the same thing to our parts of the country. And thankfully, during the last regime of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, we constructed the Tamne Dam, and that was the phase 1 was completely done. And so having left power, it has been left to that state till now. And so having come back, we have filed questions calling on the Greek minister to ensure that the contractor is brought back to site to ensure that the second and subsequent phases of that dam is carried out to its full completion. And so this, among other things, will go a long way to ensure that, yes, our counterparts in Burkina, though they have a very short rainfall as far as the wet season is concerned, but they are able to grow these products because they have dams, irrigational dams. And so, yes, apart from that dam, I think government too is working to go to revisit the Palagu Dam, whereby our own son from the north, who has touted that he was a good son, always challenged His Excellency John Dramani Mahama during their days that, yes, he should tell what he has done for the good people of the north. He was given the opportunity. He was there. We saw the good money that he sank on the Palagu dump, where we used to have the Palagu tomato factory. And as we speak, you go there, you cannot see a barrow, what do they call it, rusted or whatever. So these are the challenges we are facing. And so just like my brother from the MPP side rightly said, that we've not been proactive enough. Yes, so if it is the issue about what do they call not being proactive, then I think that if the Palagu Dam, with the monies that they have sunk, if there had been a good start and for us to continue, I think the issue of we going to going to Burkina to look for tomatoes, Niger to look for onions and the likes would have been a thing of the past now. And so, yes, largely, or going into the near future, I know Ghanaians, anytime something seriously of this nature strikes us, we double our efforts in making sure that it does not reoccur again. And I'm sure government is not happy about it. And so everything that government needs to do to ensure that in the coming years, we become one of the countries that produce tomato, so that we can rather see a reverse trend of we rather exporting tomato to Burkina Faso is going to happen very soon. And so, yes, I know it will be difficult. We don't, I know of no country that we can easily, what do you call it, move to get the substitute market like Burkina Faso as far as this tomato trade is concerned. And so in this short term, it will be a challenge, but we know tomatoes has a very short season. If we put the necessary measures in place within the next 3-4 months, we can get tomatoes. And I'm sure the Agri Ministry, government as a whole, will be coming up with some drastic measures so that we can face this thing off.
Mutaru, but before I do, I would want your reaction to this very question before I bring the same question to Mutaru from a security perspective to tell us. how has the absence of any Minister for Defense, in the light of what is happening or what has happened, how is that anything to worry about, the absence of a substantive Minister for Defense?
Yes, to me, I don't see it as anything that has to do with this thing. It could have even happened if we were having a substantive minister. And not having a substantive minister doesn't mean that the ministry is vacant. No, we, just like you said, we have an acting minister, and even if he is busy as he claims, we have a deputy. And then the army command is there, the military intelligence is there, we have the, what's the name, the national security is there. But I felt that, yes, we, as far as counter-terrorism is concerned, and known this for a while, we could have engaged in some kind of travel advice. Because I remember about 3 months ago, I wanted to convince some Japanese nationals when we visited the Japanese embassy in Ghana here to go to our part of my constituency. You could see that, yes, even though the insecurity at our place is not as high as that of the Burkina, the national was quick to say that, yes, they have travel bans to travel in places like Boku, Upper East, and to some extent the northern part of the country. So I think that we should adopt that kind of security intelligence system and be more proactive, and don't allow our traders to feel that, oh, we used to escort them, we used to advise them, but for the mere fact that in the last 2, 3, 4 months now we've not recorded anything, you can go on your own kind of attitude, is what has led us to this stage. And so these are the measures that we should be taking. It's not just the mere fact that we don't have a defense minister in place, and that is why we are recording these things.
Okay, okay. Thank you very much, Honorable. Shandoff, I see you're itching to come on, but let me bring Mutaru first. I can clearly see you're itching to come on. Mutaru, how or why should the absence of a defense minister be anything to worry about in the light of what we are currently witnessing?
And I'm sure you're referring to specifically what happened in Burkina Faso.
Absolutely.
Well, the idea of having a substantive minister is a legitimate call, because if you have a substantive minister for any role, it gives you pointed focus on issues and gives you a sense of assurance that there's a leader in place, full responsibility regarding the issues under that particular ministry. And so those calls are very legitimate. But in the case of the defense minister and what has happened in Burkina Faso, there is no evidence to the effect that the absence of a substantive minister is what has led to what has happened.
Right.
In fact, if you look at the context of the attacks, these are largely operational related issues, sharing intelligence, or production of intelligence and sharing intelligence, and putting in measures that reflect those, that intelligence.
Right.
And those are things that are done at the operational level, and we have a full ministry with all the key elements of a ministry, including, chief director and his people. We have defense intelligence that is in charge.
You mean
of
the Signals Bureau?
There's defense intelligence separate from Signals Bureau. There's a national security, and there's a counter-terrorism unit at the fusion center at the national security. All of this fully augmented, fully, in charge of those, aspects of our security beyond the borders of this country. And so it goes beyond just having a substantive minister. And I struggle to see the connection between having a substantive minister and the possibility that this may not have occurred if we had a substantive minister.
Right.
But it's important that, we do not dismiss the relevance of having a substantive minister, because that is important, for a ministry. And if you, observe in relation to that, ever since the unfortunate situation happened, the event of the passing of the minister, we have seen a very prominent role of the Deputy Defense Minister, and I'm sure you media men, you've seen that, fully active and then engaging in ways that you probably, had never seen him engage during the time the minister was still here with us. And you've seen the Finance Minister take up that role, and I've seen him within here and outside of this country engaging in the rules of assigned to him as a substantive minister. And so the question relating to what happened in Burkina Faso does not arise in this context.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. The question does not arise whether there is or not a substantive Minister for Defense. Shanov, you can now take your back.
I don't understand why we always want to play political gimmicks with some of these issues. You know, from the instance, I spoke about human lives being important and the reason why we need to value that. Sure. You know, when MP was speaking, he spoke about the fact that if our previous government had constructed the Palugu Dam, all of this is going to happen. There's a reason why the NPP is not in government as it stands now. The NDC is the one that is in government, and they give so many promises. Once that Ghanaian at the time thought through, and they thought that, you know what, let's give these people a chance. So when you come into government, all the issues that are on the table, you deal with that. You don't sit in government and also want to blame past governments. If we had any locals, we should have still been in government. So no, honorable should understand that once you are elected to form government and you are in power, you need to have that kind of responsibility on your part. And you see, it also transcends or translates into the reason why I spoke about we having a substantive Minister for Defense. You know, just because he is not like a sector minister, or maybe he doesn't maybe work in the sector, that kind of urge to accept responsibility is not like on his part. But if we had a chief like a Minister for Defense, I'm not saying that occurrence would have stopped or wouldn't have occurred, but then we are going to see somebody who is going to stand up for what has happened, and even before the occurrence probably would have put in some strict measures. It's not for any reason why we sometimes even talk about the fact that there is not a clear cut of a role that our vice presidents play in this country. Right. People tell me to be like a ceremonial role, like and all over. So sometimes being a deputy minister does not even give you that full course and everything. Yes, we have the Honorable Atoforsen being named to be the caretaker minister. But I told you about the fact that he has economic issues to do with. The financial ministry, or the finance ministry, is a very important ministry that he has to have that kind of 100% focus on. So you do not let him meddle in some of these other important areas like the Ministry for Defense and issues that has to do with protecting human lives and what we have to do even in Ghana and outside Ghana. Our citizens on any other day needs to be protected, and our actions and inactions can contribute to that. So I beg to differ from what Honorable said.
Shandoff, a quick one. Have you observed the Deputy Minister for Defense lately and how he's carried himself? Yes.
In fact, like your guy is as good as mine. What has he done? In fact, when we went to in this country where we had our youth lose their lives at Elwak, were we not in this country? And what has happened? Have you even seen any measures like they have put in place to ensure that some of these things do not happen? Like nobody is even up there to accept responsibility, and that is the reason why we are we take critical calls to mention
responsibility over Elwak.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What happened at Elwak?
Yes, is that what you're saying? Nobody has taken responsibility?
No, so like I'm saying that if we had a defense minister in place, there's going to be that kind of collaboration where people or those in power or those at the helm of affairs would have known that, okay, this was the happening during maybe last year. These were the numbers that were recorded. This year, okay, these are the expected numbers. How do we put in measures not to arrive at the unfortunate incident that happened? And because we do not have somebody taking up that role, we saw what we saw. And in this particular instance, we also do not have a Minister for Defense to stand up to some of these things. Okay, and you say we should not talk about that. I am surprised about.
Sure, definitely. Yes. I think for the purpose of the records, Elwak was considered an operational failure, not on the part of the minister or the deputy.
So are you saying that if the minister was there, there wouldn't be any collaboration?
Please bear with me. The entire operation was called into question, and within 24 hours, there was a readjustment to bring into focus the failures that occasioned the incident. Going beyond that, you found that the army quickly adjusted, and that wasn't the spectacle any longer. But I'll give you that. I'll give you that. That's no problem. I'll give you that. I mean, I know the way you do it, your NDC and the MPP stuff. I know the way you do it, so I'll give you that. That's one on honorable. Let me bring on Kwame. I know you'd want to have a bite of that, but your substantive question will be the role of ECOWAS in all of this in fighting terrorism across the Sahel.
Right, and I don't want to, dwell on the politics of it. It's really doesn't find expression in my logic at this moment, because we are dealing with a very sensitive matter.
Sure.
An issue that involves the lives of our mothers.
Mm-hmm.
The people who feed us. But move beyond that and deal with a much more important aspect of the conversation, which has got to do with, like you said, ECOWAS and the role it should have played, in ensuring that some of these things are averted. And also bring into the conversation the importance of African Continental Free Trade Area and the fact that some of these, acts would hinder the progress, that we intend to gain relative to the African Continental Free Trade Area.
Yeah.
And also to bring into question the long-standing conversation we've had about the unification of Africa. And the movement of goods and services across the region. What has happened really will create a big bottleneck for the survival of the vision of uniting Africa, and ensuring that we have one common market so that goods and services can move freely across the region. Already we are dealing with these artificial borders. And, we have made some giant strides in circumventing that. Now we're having to deal with terror attacks.
Sure.
ECOWAS has been a failure, complete failure, in dealing with the issue of terrorism in the sub-region. Complete failure.
Wow. Why would you say that?
Yes, because you see, the problem with ECOWAS is like a child that has been given a candy, for instance, if there is any military takeover in one of these regions, then they move in, wanting to show some might, right? But in terms of the derivative matters of security, they always watch aloof without, having conversations about, pragmatism. How can we ensure that we deal with this? How can we mobilize resources? How can we put troops together to fight terror? Even in Nigeria, the biggest economy in West Africa is faced with terrorism, and they had to now go to seek the support of the United States of America in combating their own, terrorism.
Domestic terrorism.
Domestic terrorism. That should tell you the failure of ECOWAS. Because if you have the biggest economy, and Nigeria is actually, and I keep saying this, that if Nigeria did things well, there would have been a United States of America in Ghana, in Africa.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because they have the biggest economy. Their population is well about 200 million. So if they are having to deal with this, then what becomes of the small countries that even do not have the weaponry to be able to deal with it? Now, but the most important thing really is the betrayal of ECOWAS, against the Sahel state. That it appears that because Burkina Faso, Niger, and a few others decided to leave ECOWAS, they have left them to their fate. Forgetting that the very reason why they left ECOWAS was also because of some of these, lack of support in the fight against terrorism in the region. It got to a time when Burkina Faso, terrorists had taken over more than half of Burkina Faso.
Wow.
So, it tells you that we have a bigger issue to deal with in the sub-region. But beyond all of these security implications, again, is what and I think it's important to regurgitate, because the devastating effect of our inability to immediately nip this in the bud is dire. That it is going to curtail a lot of things, a lot of progress. And you see, this conversation we are talking about localizing agriculture, which is, of course, very important, but also in dealing with the issue of African Continental Free Trade Area, you are talking about the fact that we should be able to trade amongst ourselves. So that tomorrow, people from Burkina Faso may say that, the tomato from Ghana now is the best, so we can come to Ghana and buy from Ghana.
Yeah.
So that tomorrow we can say that, Burkina Faso has also now started production in yam or cocoa yam or whatever it is, so we're going to go and buy from them. There should be that fluidity in terms of trade. But all of those things will not materialize if we are not intentional about dealing with the issue of security in the sub-region. What has happened is it's a dent on our conscience. And this must be, if they have never thought of it, the time for us to rally ourselves and to mobilize all the resources and the forces that we can mobilize in order that we can do. You see, our security expert here said something very fundamental, that the terrorists do not want to make enemies of Ghana. Because in the region, that's the whole Africa, region of Africa, it is right that when it comes to military might, Ghana is incomparable.
Wow.
Nobody compares. And I can cite you examples of what happened in 1992-93 in Rwanda, when all the UN peacekeeping and everything, they jettisoned. And Ghana stayed and dealt with the situation. So it tells you the might of Ghana, across the, in the world. So they do not want to make enemies of us. And I'm very certain that I'm not sure they thought that Ghanaians were part of it.
Okay.
I'm sure they were just taking their own attacks. And then, unfortunately, our mothers, were involved. So clearly, it's a much more broader but very complex issue that ought to be dealt with dispassionately and non-politically.
Right.
And this is the time that all political parties, if you have any ideas, if you have any suggestions, whatever, you should bring it to the table for us to have a conversation. But one last issue, respectfully, has got to do with what Honorable said in relation to government's posture or position, particularly the agricultural minister and what it has said it's going to do. You see, I don't glorify words. I glorify actions.
Sure.
And every time I say this, that words must always find expression in a person's actions. Animals are trapped by their horns. Men are trapped by their words.
Yes.
So for by their words, and by extension, what it means is that your action will justify your words. So it is not enough that you come and tell us that you are doing this. You have to give us a roadmap in the short term. What is government seeking to do in order that we can ameliorate some of these challenges that we are faced with? Because you see, it has food inflationary issues. That tomato right now, the price of tomato may go up.
Sure. It's already gone up. It's already gone up. Yesterday, even all the way in Upper West, a handful of tomatoes was selling for like 20 cedis.
Exactly. So, yes. So, what are the immediate measures, the short-term measures that we have put in place as a government in dealing with the foreseeable? This is not an unforeseen, because the foreseeable thing is that by reason of this action of the people leading to the death, prices of tomatoes will go up. That's a foreseeable effect. Now, what is the medium term? So the short term, the medium term, and the long term. What is the medium term plan? So that now you can bring in the issue of Pualugu.
Yes.
To say that, okay, in the medium to long term, we are looking to build the Pualugu Dam to serve as an irrigation tool.
Right.
For the purposes of agricultural expansion.
Great. The Ghana Tomato Sector Losses or Association, let me say, the Ghana Tomato Sector Association has released a statement, a press statement, whose summary or crust is absolutely jaw-dropping. Let me just take the summary of that for you. The underestimation of tomato and its contribution to our economy is just jaw-dropping. 3.2 billion investment will transform tomato sector, save 600 million in imports, right? Generate 220 million in tax revenue and eliminate cross-border trade risks. This is what I'll call the summary. I'll ask my producer to project that on the screen for us, so we go through it, and then we try to make some sense of all of that and see if, as a people, indeed we are helping or we have helped ourselves, given what we know. And so you have that in response to the recent tragic terrorist attack in Burkina Faso that affected Ghanaian tomato traders, the Chamber of Agribusiness Ghana, in partnership with key stakeholders across the tomato value chain, today unveiled a comprehensive national tomato production strategy 2026 to 2030. Backed by shocking economic data that reveals Ghana loses approximately 5.7 billion Ghana cedis annually equivalent of 1.2% of our gross domestic produce, to tomato import dependency, inefficient production, and a lack of value-added infrastructure. Honorable, given this first paragraph, how does that make you feel?
It makes me feel, to some extent, where I say that not being proud of myself as a Ghanaian, that we still found ourselves under these circumstances. Yes, because I think I've already laid that foundation. Why are we here? We are here because we have failed to utilize, we failed to mechanize agric. And so this is where we are now. And just like my senior lawyer said, we are going to suffer more in the coming days as far as the cost of tomato is concerned, because indicated earlier we don't have an alternative market for now. I don't know even if Niger can supply us, how we can manage to go to Niger without passing through Burkina Faso.
And when they shut their borders, all our onions go rotten.
Exactly. So yes, it's a call in the right direction. It's unfortunate that we are using the killings of our traders as what do you call it, a point or a lesson to learn out of this. But my prayer is that, just like you rightly said again, we should be the last time we are discussing this. Even if we are to talk about some of these things in the media, we should be on the sector minister, be on government, because I think the country has spent more than this. The country has gone for loans more than this amount that the sector, what's the name, the Chamber of Agric Business is mentioning. And so, yes, so it is not, though, yes, we know that we are still struggling to reset this economy, but I think government is listening. This is a government that tries to change the system. Government, as part of the resetting agenda, will definitely do something seriously about this and ensure that, yes, we don't record some of these losses to the economy.
Right.
We save the taxes. We do everything humanly possible to improve our tomato production, and this will go a long way to strengthen our CD that is already doing well against the major trading partners like the Burkina, what's the currency, that's the safer goat. So yes, I believe government has a listening ear, so we will quickly pick some of these inputs from the sector and then make very good use of it.
Thank you very much. So, let me come to Muntaru. Muntaru, how concerned are you hearing that 5.7 billion cedis leaves the shores of Ghana annually to create jobs for our neighbors, all in the name of import dependency? And what will the effect of that be on job creation in this country for young people?
Well, that statistic may look shocking, or of this sort of data.
Okay.
That exposes our frailties, our weaknesses, assassination, even after half a century of independence. If you look at the statistics relating to our imports for rice, it's a much shocking reality. Even tomato paste from Italy, and a regular rehearsal of the problems that we have in terms of our import exports, scenario analysis of what we should be pressed about this initiative of Planting for Food and Jobs. It was a huge investment that we should have taken as an advantage to break this chain.
Right.
Unfortunately, we are yet to, reap the full benefit. We have ideas, but we lack the discipline to carry through this. The Palugu tomato factory, something like this, like Burkina incident happened, then we talk about it. And I bet you in the next 3 days, it would die off. I mean, it wouldn't be in the news any longer. And we shift to the next thing. And that we need to look at the African or Ghanaian personality, who we really are, in terms of leadership and in terms of what we seek to do for our people. There's a story of a guy called Lord Lugard. He's a British governor for West Africa.
Hold your horses for me. The presidency has just released a statement, one that I'm sure you'll be very interested in. It has to do with a petition for the removal of the electoral commissioner and her deputies. Was it expected? Anyway, let me go for it. Following the receipt of 7 petitions from various individuals and groups for the removal of the special prosecutor, President John Dramani Mahama is, in accordance with Article 146 of the 1992 Constitution and Section 15 of the Office of the Special Prosecutors Act, Act 2017 or Act 959, referred same to His Lordship Justice Paul Bafuboni, Chief Justice, on the 25th of November case. By a letter dated 26th January 2026, the Chief Justice informed His Excellency the President that no prima facie the removal of the Electoral Commissioner, the Electoral Commissioner and her 2 deputies, as well as the Special Prosecutor, are staying put. The Chief Justice, His Lordship Paul Bafuboni, found no prima facie case in the petitions submitted to the President. Right. Okay. So let's take it again from the top. Lawyer Kwame is interested now. He wants me to do the last paragraph. And so, by a letter dated 26th to warrant any further investigation, special prosecutor, and that is signed by and Minister Government Communications. On that note, we move on to look at.
1 minute each.
I'll take Kwame's request. Lawyer Kwame, since you requested, let's. How do you welcome this?
I am relieved.
Relieved?
I'm telling you. I mean,
were you counsel for any of the persons involved?
You see, I'm a student of democracy and politics.
Sure.
And I have come to be very afraid of the trajectory of our democratic experiment. Particularly what happens to people who occupy certain sensitive positions in government in the event that a government changes. It has always been of grave concern to me. And so I was particularly scandalized when I heard in the beginning that some petitions had been forwarded to the President for the removal of the Electoral Commissioner and the Special Prosecutor. I would say this, that the democracy that we are enjoying is not because the system has deliberately created a platform for us to enjoy democracy. It is because the people ourselves have decided that no matter what the situation is, we will enjoy, or we have opted for democracy. And one of the institutions that is very important and crucial in the conversation of democracy is the Electoral Commission. And the continuing survival, or that the predictability, of the occupier of that office, in terms of the fact that they'll be allowed to operate freely and without political interference, etc., is one that it's very important. That we had Aferijan, superintendent over the affairs of the EC for many years, and then became, the Aferijan that we all loved because we allowed him to make mistakes and to learn. That means that the initial decision by the Kufuor administration for the removal of Charlotte Osei was a warped one. That after the NDC won the election, they were going to axe this current EC out because of the previous experiences that But I'm so happy, extremely so, that when you read the thing, when you started, I was just I saw how you were. I was like, not again, no. But when you read the last paragraph, that no prima facie evidence has been established, I say, hallelujah. At least our democracy will be protected. And the removal of certain people who are occupying certain sensitive positions. So I'm happy. Thank you very much, His Excellency. Let me thank His Excellency John
Kwame, he's your namesake. He's Kwame. So
How many Kwames there? We have race. The first president was Kwame Nkrumah. The race setter is Akufo-Addo Kwame as well. So, His Excellency, thank you. Let them work and make mistakes and learn.
Shandoff, this must come to you as a relief, especially given how elements within your party went to town castigating the government, accusing it of being behind the petitions. This must come to you as a relief.
Yes, it is. It is. Clearly, from day one, we in the New Patriotic Party always knew that the issues that had been forwarded to the presidency for the removal of the BC chair was without merit. And we, on several platforms, made those assertions. I mean, but then so from day one so from day one, I mean, like
they would have found merit if they were
so from day one we so it was more of like a pre-advertised agenda to get rid of. And we spoke about the removal of the Chief Justice. Oh no! So some of these things came up, and we felt that, you know what, that like Kwame said, the trajectory that we were moving as a country was not right. And for this particular one, we saw that it shouldn't have gone through, or it should not go through. And today, the information reaching us from presidency, states clearly what our thoughts were, and even now. So I think it is good for us as a country and for our democracy that we are practicing, that persons who go through or who fall through the cracks and rise to such such positions in this country would have the feel to serve Ghana. And then that's like we would be, exactly, anybody who is rising through the government offices would have power. You would be taken out of office. So I think it's something good for democracy. But then, for me, I think it could have waited. This is also a political diversion of the issues that we are discussing right now. We have Coco to talk about. Yes. I mean, it could have waited. I think like it is just to divert attention. Let's talk about Coco. Let's talk about how we can.
Breaking news, my brother. You must feel very proud as a Ghanaian, given that
the kind of climate just before elections, Indians was intended to remove the electoral commissioner and their deputies. In fact, one of the last leadership and the atmosphere created was one of serious hostility.
That's right.
It was almost impossible.
On the part of the EC?
Both sides. It was almost, there was a lot of going back and forth. At some point, the electoral commissioner, excused the gathering. Anyone who was there would attest to this. And it was almost impossible to imagine that the NDC would take part to discredit or to remove her and maybe the leadership. And so at the beginning of this petition, in the minds of many people, it was intended, the outcome had been set even before the
You thought it was a done deal.
And so this comes as a significant surprise. And of course, a very huge positive development for democracy. Of course, this is an outcome of what good governance principles upheld, and I think that it's a feather in the cap of the NDC that this has happened. And I'm very sure that in the minds of even the New Patriotic Party, many will be shocked that this has happened, because this is not what people thought. In fact, for all of us seated here, and I believe including yourself, reading the script, the statement, you would have believed that it was intended as sacking the commissioner.
Until I read the last paragraph.
Read the last statement. And I think that all of us, irrespective of political position, we must see the positive value in that particular act, irrespective of, where we stand.
Thank you, Muntari. Let me come to Honorable. Honorable, your vindication on the accusation of being vindictive must be staring you in the face. How do you welcome that?
Yes. You see, when
you said
yes. You see, when you started, and by mentioning that the electoral commission, all of us
became
including my group self. You see,
we knew where it was going.
As lawyers, my senior will bear with me that sometimes when we are reading judgments, more especially when we're students in the days. You will be reading a judgment, you will see the judge going by the law, the principles, applying it, and going by that, you would think that, or you'll be tempted to believe that this is how the judgment will go. Or sometimes when you are even in court, just like the 2012 election petition, you could see that, oh, how the judgment was being delivered, this will be the total or the final outcome. Before you realize, then the judge turns the arrow and say it goes the other way. I think that is what you've just done. As a man. You know, of all people who,
so you feel very
who didn't even want to hear it, who could have, who, if he had opportunity, would have even stopped you. Now wanted us to.
At least the charge of vendetta is no longer on you.
Yes. That's so fantastic.
Right.
Yes, this time around, just like we were not happy during the tomato and the killing of the traders, I think this is the better, the finest time to be a Ghanaian. I am proud as a member of the NDC, the ruling government. I am proud that, yes, I am a member of parliament upon which His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is the president. There is no better time to serve, to be an MP than being an MP under, what do they call it, a very good president, a president who walked the talk, the president, the reset agenda. Even if nobody, if there's someone else out there who was still having some form of doubt in him, I think this is a clear indication. You see, I'm wondering how the MPP will feel, especially the majority leader in parliament, so the minority leader in parliament, when the petition to remove the Chief Justice came up and finally, or what, and that subsequently led to a removal. How they reacted. This is a clear indication that, look, this is the right Chief Justice who will ensure that, yes, the institution, that is the last hope, is being led by a fine gentleman who will not allow external pressure, allow what the majority, the law, because I know many NDC supporters out there will not be happy with this kind of situation.
Part of the reasons you read, it was,
and so,
it was part
and it's also a vindication that no political top hierarchy persons in the NDC in any way attempted to, what do they call it, influence the outcome of this as far as this petition is concerned. And so the institutions are now what? Working this. And the recent Supreme Court decision against the NDC, as far as the Pandai case is concerned, yes, the days of the unanimous FC and the likes has become what, a thing of the past. This is the governance we want, and so yes, I am not surprised that. Maybe that may spark controversy. I'm not surprised that many people there are calling that, yes, his ex-people may be tempted to make this kind of call, even though it may not be lawfully correct. And so yes, his
tomato note, and the presidency relieved you, but I'm going to bust your bubble now. Let's look at maybe 8 minutes. Let's look at the issues surrounding cocoa. Honorable, I'm going to give you the first bite of cocoa. Was there anything at all Cocoa Board, and by extension the government, could have done to avert this controversy over cocoa farmers not being paid in the last 4 months and matters arising?
There was nothing Cocoa Board, by extension, government can do as far as the late payment of cocoa farmers is concerned. Why? Because we all know that the commodity, cocoa, just like oil, just like gold, and some other commodities that I may be unable to mention their names now, prices are determined at the global markets. And so the fundamental issue that we should be asking ourselves now is whether or not the price in the world market has increased or reduced. And the only meaningful, reasonable, factual answer that you get out of that is that the price of that commodity, cocoa, has been reduced significantly, not just the usual reduction, 10%, 5% that we know of the past. This is a significant reduction. And secondly, we know that as its price is globally determined in the market, in the international market, it is also affected by our exchange rate. And thankfully, we are in power. We have managed the local currency very well. The first time that the CD has gained stability against its international trading partners for many years. And definitely, once you send the cocoa out there, get this, the dollar, which price has already been reduced drastically. You come down to Ghana here, and with the exchange rate, it is going to suffer another price reduction as far as paying it to our local farmer is concerned.
Right.
And so I am not surprised. I am waiting for any NPP person who will come and say that yes, it's a lie, the price has not been reduced, or even if the price has been reduced, this is how insignificant it is, and so we could have managed and then absorb the shocks and still maintain the price, or possibly increase it slightly. No one has been able to do that yet. And secondly, just like I mentioned, the appreciation of the local currency, the Ghanaian CD, as against the dollar, and for that matter, other foreign currencies, it's also real. No one to you were doing the exchange rate at 17 cedis. And so even if we even choose to leave the international price reduction aside and even narrow it down to the appreciation of the CD alone, it has significant effect as far as paying our cocoa farmers are concerned. And so there is nothing you can do under the circumstances than to manage it as it is. And you don't expect, as we are in the reset agenda.
No, you've gone beyond your 2 minutes.
We're
breaking 8.
Let me just find a way to learn.
8 minutes, so
as we are in the reset agenda, I don't think government is ever prepared to do that kind of going to borrow unnecessarily and then come to try to subsidize certain things and those kind of things. We are not going to do that again because we
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Let our failure to plan, or that it's even our planned and failed situation that's brought us here.
Of course, I mean, just like in many other areas, I mean, if you fail to plan, I mean, the events will plan plan for you.
Okay.
And so it's a valid statement. It depends on what specific issue you're referring to or the context of that particular issue. The cocoa subject, it's a highly important subject because of what cocoa does for Ghana. Beyond gold, cocoa is the other gold that we have, and that everything must be done to ensure that there are no challenges in that sector. And it appears that it's a perennial issue of cocoa, the subject of syndicated loans and what it's meant to do and what is actually done, the operational aspects of the management. Cocoa farmers and their welfare issues have always been a big subject, and it's something that has never been fully catered for.
Right.
I hear the conversations, and it significantly centers on leadership.
Okay.
Leadership and leadership capacity and ability to plan and secure the interests of cocoa farmers and the interest of Ghana. If you listen to the CEO act of leadership, either past leadership or current, probably some of them are still with the team here. And I hear him make some very interesting remarks about some matters of impropriety being referred to the IOCO, and I think possibly the Special Prosecutor's Office. I think this is not enough. We needed a very serious conversation in terms of what must have gone wrong, what led to this situation. There are references to hedging the price of cocoa in the market that you barely, and that's why they've come to this settlement, a settlement that is neither satisfactory to the farmers nor to the Ghanaian government, because we're losing in terms of how much.
Thank you. Let me come to Shandoff. 2 minutes, I beg you. My producer is angry.
I think it's a very serious situation we find ourselves farmers, and especially when you listen to the CEO, Dr. Randy Abbey, his posturing does not even suggest that he wants to even accept responsibility that they failed the cocoa farmers, because before they came into government, in all the political talks they made, that the best price they thought that the cocoa farmers should be paid was 3,100 to 3,625, and now you reduce, even further 10 million, that is 1,000 Ghana cedis, and you want 129. Are we not on the same market with them? Are you
aware cocoa farmers in Ivory Coast are not selling to the government? Rather, they're finding ways to smuggle them into Ghana, because however low our prices are, it's still attractive to them.
Whether attractive or not, we are talking about what the farmers are talking about is the amount of money that they are supposed to receive. That is the conversation here. It's not about whether the market is attractive or not. And I only
reminded you because you introduced Ivory Coast.
So I want them to understand that those external factors, when we're in government and we told them that some situations that we found ourselves then were due to external factors, they told us not to mention external factors. Today you want to use the back door and say during our time there were instances where markets on the international markets reduced, but then we found ways to absorb that pressure and still pay the cocoa farmers what they were due, because we understand the importance of agric in this country and what the cocoa sector means to our economy. Right. So they have no excuse whatsoever, and the government's directive to have some of the top directors' salary slashed, I think it is something like, it is a no for me. It does not do anything. They need to find ways to pay the farmer the 3,600. In fact, if you are unable to pay the 6,500, don't rob them of the 3,629, and that is what the cocoa farmers are talking about.
Thank you very much, Kwame. You have the final word.
Okay, so I mean, I have 2 minutes, but I actually made a.
I saw your.
I had a
been reading your notes.
I had a written submission. This matter,
rather.
Yes, to speak to this matter, in the manner that they are speaking to the matter. It's quite unfortunate, and I'll be very candid with you. I mean, he speaks about a certain promise being made prior to the election. Yes, of course, the promise was made. By the time the promise was made, there were some factors. The first question was that, what was the price of gold? Cocoa at the time. How much were you giving? Mental, critical, if you like, influencing factors. When it comes to gold pricing in the world market. Unfortunately, I would have given you. Yeah. Then he speaks about the fact that Honorable mentions some external factors. But yes, there are external factors. The external factors include the change in the price of cocoa. The world market determines the FOB price. Mm-hmm. So if the price of cocoa is coming down, you cannot reasonably expect that there will be an increment in the price of cocoa. It doesn't work like that. But beyond the external factors, it's also internal factors which was created deliberately by the erstwhile administration. And that is what brings me to the default in the performance of contract, which led to rollovers. So you are looking at of cocoa. You were not able to meet those requirements, even though you had gone for a syndicated loan of about $1 billion. So you couldn't meet you couldn't meet the obligations, and then they had to roll over the contract. So the rollover of the contract, respectfully, the exigencies.
I beg you, Shandov, I beg you. He has only 2 minutes.
No, but I mean,
he has only 2 minutes. So as it is, he's even overstepping.
Yes, you see, that's why I'm speaking very fast, because I usually like to take my time and explain. So the point is that the internal factors were so huge that they influenced the external factors. That's what is important. Now, the last internal, that you have a sector that was reeling and reeking of a lot of debts.
Of 19 billion.
So
from Kwame. You have taken over from Kwame. No, you have taken over from Kwame.
No. I am no. You see, hold on. Can I respectfully?
Kwame, I'll beg of you to end now for me. I apologize.
Okay. Anyway, so I just wanted to quickly just add.
Yes.
That from 1992, when we started Cocoa Board, so about 2024, 2025 thereabout, what has sustained the cocoa market is the syndicated loan. When they came, they mismanaged the syndicated loan to the extent that banks were not willing to give.
Thank you very much. Just before I go away, I have a press release from the Ministry of Finance. See, Muntari was thinking another press release from the presidency. Going to give us the details of that press release from the Finance Ministry, and then we'll bring the show to an end. But before I do that, though, let me send out a huge, your staff at Ablekuma NIC needs a new kind of orientation. I beg of you.
Which one?
Star Oil Ablekuma NIC. I beg of you, Customer service, this morning, I suffered it and I am not happy at all. It is zero. In fact, I had to ask them to shut my tank and I move on somewhere else. I beg you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And so let's take the press release. Let's take the press release from the Finance Ministry. And the government of Ghana has paid 10 billion in interest obligations under the Domestic Debt Exchange Program (DDEP). The payment marks the sixth coupon settlement under the program and represents the second full cash payment without any payment in kind component, reflecting strengthened fiscal capacity and solvency. The settlement covers CD-denominated DDEP coupon obligations in line with the restructuring memorandum and government's broader debt management and fiscal consolidation strategy. The timely payment sends a strong positive signal to domestic and international investors, reinforces market confidence, and it is expected to support Ghana's credit outlook while enhancing stability within the financial sector, including banks and pension funds. Government remains fully committed to meeting the future DDEP obligations, supported by strong buffers, improving macroeconomic fundamentals, declining inflation, lower interest rates, and a stable cedi. And that's the statement from the Finance Ministry to the Ghanaian public. DDEP interest has been paid. And so that is where we wrap up today. My guest has been, to my immediate left, Lawyer Kwame, one second, Lawyer Kwame Owusu Danso Esquire, Shandoff Bright Opoku Boama, and then Mutaru Mumuni, as well as Honorable Yusuf Mahmoud Esquire. In fact, I have closed.
Oh, let me say
my producer has taken me off.
See, there's an important aspect of the conclusion that should have come, because it's very important that in the face of what is happening in Burkina Faso and here, it should not undermine goodwill and confidence in our security institutions.
Thank you very much.
I work in this space that shows clearly that I'm very aware of the significant commitment of our security forces at the borders, at the Fusion Center, and national security generally. It is not to project them, but it's to state clearly that this is time that we need confidence and support for our security institutions to keep Ghana safe and peaceful as a peaceful country within the South.
No conclusion of being better than that. Thank you very much, Muntar Mumini. And that is where we draw the curtain on today's Focus. Till I see you again, keep watching GBC News.